Is that how we see the world? That if others around me become successful, I will become miserable?
One of the greatest documents in the history of humankind that highlights the system of rights is Risalat al-Huquq by Imam Zein Alabideen salawatullahi alayhi. This treatise of rights has been narrated by his famous companion Abu Hamza al-Thumali. Shaykh al-Kulayni and other scholars have narrated this beautiful treatise in their books. In this treatise, Al-Imam Zein Al-Abideen alayhi salam transforms the way we look at the system of rights. These days, when we think of rights, we are very self-centered. We are very selfish. When you think of rights, you always think, what's in it for me? What are the rights do I get? That's how we think. Rarely do we think of the rights that we have to fulfill. But Al-Imam Zein Al-Abideen alayhi salam teaches us that when you think of rights, you have to observe what are the rights that you have to fulfill to make this world a better place. Imam Zein Al-Abideen alayhi salam beautifully teaches us that when you give charity to the poor, you should be more thankful to the poor than the poor should be thankful to you. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has imposed a right on you. Your money is not your money. The money that you made is Allah's money. The resources that you used to make that money comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, Allah has placed a right over you. You have to release yourself from that right by giving from what you have to the poor. When you find a poor person and you give them an act of charity, you should thank that poor person for allowing you to fulfill your right. Imagine if we saw the world that way. We would live in a world of harmony, in an oasis of peace. In Risalat al-Huquq, Al-Imam Zein Al-Abideen alayhi salam teaches us that the one who has the ultimate rights over you is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In every move that you make, even if you're standing still, every object that you use, every word that you utter, every tool that you use, the Imam alayhi salam states Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the greatest right over you. This body that you think you own is not owned by you. Are you fulfilling its rights? Are you using it in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Then the Imam alayhi salam transitions to examine each body part. And what are the rights of those body parts? Your tongue has a right over you. Do not contaminate this tongue. Keep this tongue pure. One of the reasons why our prayers are not answered is because we use foul language. Sometimes you may be sitting amongst your friends, you're having a nice sahra, and you think it's okay to use profane words, indecent words, cussing words amongst your friends. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not given you such a right. This blocks the dua from being raised to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Imam alayhi salam is teaching us, remember, this organ, this tongue has a right over you. Observe that right. Then the Imam alayhi salam highlights the rights of your nafs, your soul. Allah has prepared an infinite reward for your soul on the day of judgment in His heaven. Do not deny your nafs. Do not deny your soul from getting that reward. This is a haqq. This is a right that your nafs has over you. And just imagine the infinite reward of God on the day of judgment for the people of heaven. Here in this world, we live in a 3D, some say 4-dimensional world. Allah's power and knowledge are infinite. Imagine if in paradise, every single day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invents a new dimension for you. And with that comes a set of experiences. Imagine the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in paradise with all these pleasures. Here in this dunya we have 5 senses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment in heaven, every single day He can grant you a new sense. Is it really worth it to deny yourself that ultimate reward? In paradise, every Friday, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls on the people of heaven to gather. And He reveals to them new aspects of His glory. He reveals to them new knowledge. You know what that knowledge does to the people of heaven? Have you ever experienced extreme thirst? How does it feel when you quench that thirst? Do you ever get tired of that? Some people think, well, I get bored in heaven. Do you ever get tired from that feeling of quenching your thirst? Never. If you were to get thirsty 1,000 times, and every time you quench that thirst, you enjoy it. Now the soul has the thirst for divine knowledge. Every single week in paradise, for eternity, Allah reveals to the soul new knowledge. Imagine what that does to the people of heaven. And Imam Zein Al-Abideen alayhi salam teaches you, is it worth it to squander that, to blow that away just for a few years in this dunya? Then the Imam alayhi salam transitions to the rights of those who seek advice from you. Some of us, if we're successful and someone asks us for advice, we don't like to share with them our secrets, how we became successful. Let's say you're a successful businessman and a person asks you, how can I become successful like you? And Imam Zein Al-Abideen alayhi salam teaches us that when someone like that comes along, they have a right over you for you to be honest with them, to share with them your secrets. You think that if that person is going to become successful, Allah will deny you His sustenance? Is that how we see the world? That if others around me become successful, I will become miserable? The Imam alayhi salam redefines to us what it means to be successful. Observe the rights of others, observe the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will make you more successful. Through this system of rights, Imam Zein Al-Abideen alayhi salam transformed his society. He transformed many parts of the world. Through this system of rights, the Imam alayhi salam empowered many people who were marginalized. Slaves at the time of Imam Zein Al-Abideen alayhi salam were marginalized. They did not have access to education. They were politically disenfranchised. Imam Zein Al-Abideen alayhi salam, according to some historical reports, he purchased 100,000 slaves during his lifetime. He educated them, he empowered them, then he set them free. He liberated them, dispatching them to all parts of the Muslim Ummah so they take the teachings of Islam to many of these parts. Why do you think many African nations joined the religion of Islam? The Umayyads were very hostile to them. They did not even consider them as citizens. What attracted them to the religion of Islam? These slaves who were educated by Imam Zein Al-Abideen, empowered by Imam Zein Al-Abideen, they would go to these parts of the world and they would carry the torch of Islam. The message of Imam Zein Al-Abideen alayhi salam today is very clear for us. Anyone who's marginalized in your society, empower them, protect their rights, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the path of success.
You think that if that person is going to become successful, Allah will deny you His sustenance? Is that how we see the world? That if others around me become successful, I will become miserable?